Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric with American Business Systems. Want to welcome you again to another Wednesday webinar with us here at American Business Systems. And for those that are on here early, you're on for a wonderful treat to meet Dr. Vicki Rackner here in just a moment. If you've never watched any of our previous webinars, recording of Dr. Rackner, you're going to really enjoy the conversation. She and I were talking a lot about different things, everything from some things that doctors are looking forward to do as 2026 is getting kicked off to even the thoughts where the doctors themselves are wondering about how AI will impact them. I know that's a big question that everybody has here, so we'll address a little bit about that today. But folks, again, you're able to enjoy a great webinar. I love talking with Dr. Vicki Rackner. She is a sweetheart, and she is just so full of knowledge and so full of energy. And you'll get to meet her here in just a moment. But I just want to welcome everybody that's coming on in. I see Ash is here and Jimmy, Sharon Shankar. Got it. I had to look at that and do my grammar properly here in my own head here. But we've got some other folks that look like they're about to join in. So let me introduce myself and some things I'm going to ask you to do. First of all, I'd like for you to go over to find the Q&A box. Just type in where you're calling in from this afternoon. I would appreciate it. That's always helpful for me. Here comes a boatload of people. Iva just joined in, and Fonnie, and it looks like Derek's, and so good group of folks here. So if y'all will just let me know where you're calling in, I would appreciate it. I got Jimmy from Atlanta. Appreciate that. I know that over here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, the sun is shining and it's bright and clear, and hopefully it's like that way where you are. Shankar is from Lakeland, Florida. Good to see you. Appreciate it. See if anybody else wants to pipe in on here. Tell me where you just find the Q&A box and tell me where you're located. I'd appreciate it. And then that way you'll know where the Q&A box is. You will have questions for Dr. Rackner as we go through the presentation today. So please feel free at any particular time during the webinar, whether we're on a specific topic or not, to type in your questions. Ask the doctor yourself this afternoon. So that's why we do this. For those that have never met me, let me introduce myself. My name is Eric Auger. I'm the Director of Engagement with you, just making sure learning and engagement. So I'm trying to help you learn a little bit about who we are here at American Business Systems. Folks, if you've never been on any of our webinars in the past, you know that these webinars last approximately about an hour. We try to crunch in a lot of information. So sometimes we go through different topics of possibly how much you can make, to how quickly you can get a doctor, to how many doctors you're going to want to need to make a decent living, how we train you, and we do all of these different things here. So, you know, folks, we're here to kind of help you, and I'm here to help you. And then we'll have interviews like Dr. Rackner. Now, and I think in another week or so, we're going to have another interview with somebody. Let me pull that up here. Let's see what we're doing next week. It looks like either we're going to explore why medical billing is a top choice for 2026, or in interviews here. So we've got some things coming up here, and there is an interview on March the 11th that I know for sure you're not going to want to miss. So we've got some great topics coming up here. Let me introduce you to Adam Phillips. Adam is our CEO of American Business Systems. Was just celebrating his birthday here just recently. He turned the big 50, so he's over the hill. So for those that are always wondering who's in charge, we've got some folks that are certainly prime in their time, and so they're doing a great job. Adam and his team either are ones that are engaging with you on the front end or helping you with any information and support that you need as you're kind of navigating to whether this is the right business for you. But Adam's also connected here with Dr. Rackner in that he and she have co-written a book called 9 Ways Doctors Let Money Slip Through Their Fingers. You might want to figure out how to get a copy of that. I may tell you a little bit towards the end, if you hang on here, you might be able to get a copy of that book. He is also a contributing editor writer for a magazine called Billing and Coding Advantage Magazine. He has written some great articles. He put out one at the end of last year, sometime in the middle of July last year, he put out one, and then he put out another one in back in 2024. Again, we've been talking about artificial intelligence for since 2024. As you can see here, you might want to get a copy of these. Now, I'll tell you where you can get a copy of either this article or this article. You can get back with your sales rep. We have these in PDF. So if you'd like to get a copy of The Shrinking Private Practice, Why Billing Expertise Can Be a Lifeline, I think that's one of the things that Dr. Vicki and I will talk about today. And then if you want to learn a little bit more about artificial intelligence, whether it's going to take over your job as a medical biller or coder, you're going to want to get a hold of that article as well. He is also the founder of an organization called MERMA. That is the Medical Revenue Management Association of America. Dr. Vicki Rackner is on the board of directors for here, so you'll get to talk with her a little bit. But it is this organization here that you'll be associated with, and you can carry their logo, and it'll be this group here that will actually certify you as a certified medical revenue manager. So, but before I go any further, I don't want you thinking that you're just going to become just a medical biller. Dr. Vicki and I were talking just earlier how I want you, as we get started with today's webinar, I really want you to have a chief executive officer mindset as you're going into this, because if you're coming into this and you're looking at becoming a medical biller just to maybe replace a little bit of your income, then all you've done really is just created yourself another job. You're just working from home instead of driving somewhere. And for some of you, that may just be just fine. But as Dr. Vicki will talk about here in just a moment, she's helping doctors change their mindset on being a CEO of their company. And here together today, we're going to be talking with you doing the same thing. So let me introduce you to her. She is a prolific author and has been interviewed on several different platforms. She actually has a new book that she's got recently has come out, How Doctors Build True Wealth, and it's not just about the money. She's also got nine money mistakes doctors make, The Myth of the Rich Doctor. She is just doing a tremendous amount working directly with doctors. So you can't have someone better on today's webinar than Dr. Vicki to help answer your questions. Why would a doctor ever want to outsource their billing? So without any further ado, I'm going to ask Dr. Vicki to come on and join us. Dr. Vicki, it is good to see you again.
Hey there, I'm blushing. Thank you for the kind introduction. It's
You're very welcome.
It's been such a pleasure working with you over the years, Eric.
It has been.
Truly value this.
And if I haven't told you already, Happy New Year. I know we're already into February, but Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Happy Seahawks Day.
Oh my goodness, that's right. She lives up in Seattle, if y'all haven't figured it out by now. Did you get to go to the parade, or did you get to watch the Super Bowl and watch all the festivities?
You know, we watched the Super Bowl, and I remember going to the parade a decade ago, but the parade was 10 a.m. this morning, and I had a whole day scheduled, so I missed the parade this year.
Yeah, there you go. Well, very good. Well, it was. It's so funny that the team that's up there in Seattle. We're down here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and a lot of Texans, people that were from Texas that are actually on the team. So we had a couple of our folks that we were pulling for just because they were on the Seahawks team. So, and I love your coach there. That coach he is a brilliant young man.
Brilliant young man. Absolutely.
Well, I hope that on today's webinar today that we'll have the same type of mindset that coach for the Seahawks. I hope these folks here have that same type of mindset, because you can take something from nothing and make it grand. And I know that you and I were talking earlier. I mean, because I basically asked you, what are you doing here recently with doctors? What is the lessons you're trying to tell doctors right now? But first of all, before we get into that part of it, there's a lot of people on here, Dr. Vicki, that have never heard your story. They don't know what kind of doctor you are or were, and so why don't you kind of just give a little brief overview of who you are, how you got started, and how eventually you outsourced your billing.
Okay, so this is Twisty. So, hey everyone on the webinar, I'm so glad that you're here. It's really my honor to share my story with you. And I just want to let you know that you are in the right place. If you want to think about how to build a business, I am so glad that you're exploring this. Okay, so my story, I was in a graduate program in physics when one day I fainted on my way to the bathroom. I had some internal bleeding. And by the time that the surgeons got into my belly, about half of my blood volume was in my pelvis. So when I kissed my then fiance goodbye, I truly thought it was the final goodbye. And I was so grateful to wake up. I knew I was going to be a doctor, like my own life had been saved. And ultimately, I went and did that. I became a surgeon. Not surprising, right? Because
Yeah,
an
right.
operation saved my life. And I went into private practice in Seattle. Now, if you look at the arc of what goes on in medicine, like people a generation before me, everyone went into private practice. I grew up in Minnesota, and I remember my aunt was hospitalized at the Mayo Clinic. We went to visit her, and I was surprised that the walls weren't pink because I'd heard my family talking about this pinko organization, the Mayo Clinic. So
Sure.
anyway, when I got out of my residency, it probably about 80% of people went into private practice, and 20% were employed. And then we went through this managed care thing, right?
Mm,
So what that meant is that more and more doctors were frustrated with like dealing with the demands of running a business. So they sold their practices to the hospital. So by 2000, probably half of doctors were in private practice, half were employed. And that trend continued pre-COVID. Probably 30% of doctors were in private practice, 70% were employed. Then doctors realized during the pandemic, wait a minute, I thought I sold my practice to
right.
buy certainty, that I
Yeah,
had this certain paycheck. And many of these doctors were furloughed. They were asked to take pay cuts. And so they thought, wait a minute, I this is not what I signed up for. So now we're seeing this trend back into private practice. All right.
sure.
So that's what I did after I finished my residency. I joined another general surgeon here in Seattle, and I was just delighted. So he was kind of a one-man show. It was him and his office manager. And when I asked her what she did, she said, I do everything in the office except operate. So she did the billing, she did the scheduling, she did all of the juggling. So I started asking her after I came here, like, what, how do I get paid? Because I didn't know how billing went. I didn't know what the business cycles were. And then I started asking her specific questions about, well, what about this gallbladder removal? What about that? And she actually handed in her resignation. Now, what I
Wow.
believe is that she was embezzling from the practice.
Oh my.
And because I was asking these questions, I think she was afraid that she was going to get out of it. And this is a huge thing that doctors worry about: theft and fraud, right?
Sure.
So, anyway, what are we going to do about our billing, right? And my partner's wife, primarily spent her days playing tennis. And she suggested, well, what if I just, spend one less day a week playing tennis and I come in and do your billing?
Sure.
And that lasted a couple of weeks before she saw, no, this is too complicated. This is too important. And that quarter, when this woman quit, we actually had to make owner investments into the practice, not taking money out, but putting
Right.
money back in, because this thing was so messed up. So anyway, we got this temp from a temp organization who was like handling the front office and scheduling and everything else. And she was so lovely. She just did a great job with the patients. She would go out and help the little old ladies complete their paperwork. A couple weeks after she left, The temp agency called us and said, by the way, there's something we need to tell you. The woman we sent out to you was a convicted Medicare felon.
Oh my goodness.
So she was probably busy stealing all of the little old lady's financial information, right?
Oh my goodness.
And like things were so messed up. It made me realize how important this billing piece is. I mean, I prided myself on taking good care of patients, right? But I also wanted to pay my mortgage. I
Sure.
wanted to make sure that nobody was stealing from me. So around this time, I operated at 2 hospitals. The other hospital was setting up a multidisciplinary breast clinic, and I wanted to be part of that. So I broke away from my original partner. I set up my own office at this second hospital. And one of the first things that I knew was I was never going to be in that situation again where I didn't know how my money was coming in.
Sure.
So I made sure the first decision I made was I was going to outsource my billing. So how did I do it? Well, when I was in the doctor's dining room, I would ask the other doctors, hey, do you outsource your billing? Like, do you like this person? Why do you like? And when the same name kept on coming up again and again, I called her, I hired her, and she truly transformed how I ran my business. Like she helped me run it like a true profitable business. And looking back, I am so grateful that I did that.
So in a nutshell, what you and I were talking about earlier is that gal became really a business partner with you to kind of help you navigate the just getting paid.
Yeah, absolutely. And, all doctors want to focus, right?
Sure.
So who would I focus on? And she helped me see, okay, well, with these insurance companies, here's how much you make.
Yes.
And with these insurance companies, here's how much you make. And if we do it by code, here's how much you make when you do a mastectomy and a lumpectomy versus here's how much you make when you remove a gallbladder. So it's not like I was going to say no to patients, but I knew that if I wanted to build a profitable practice doing the work that I loved, and I really loved working with breast cancer patients, that's where my focus was. Having this information and help me make informed choices about where my focus and where my energy went made a huge difference. And I would not have thought about doing that on my own.
Right. And I think one of the things I want to convey here with this group, and if those that are listening a little bit later, doctors like to do business with other CEO type people because, again, if you think about it, if you're dealing with, because the question's asked, on our webinar, why would a doctor outsource their billing? Does a doctor just want to leave it up to somebody that's getting a regular paycheck and, they're almost kind of in, they're not, they don't have the same mindset as a doctor. If the doctor finds a good outsourced billing company, then they're dealing with the owner of that company, which would be one of these people that are here on the call today, dealing with another owner of another company. So now it's business to business. Now we've got 2 people that are trying to achieve the same thing, and that is to maximize profits as best as we can. And so that's what I've seen, whenever I've done billing for doctors, that's what they're looking for is, look, Eric, can you help me get where I want to get to? And if you help me get there, you're going to achieve as well. That's what we want to.
I hear what you're saying, Eric, and that's kind of logic that speaks to my prefrontal cortex.
Yes.
My thinking brain. But what I'm telling you is that these choices are made with the emotional brain.
Yes, you're right.
What doctors want is control, right?
Yeah.
They don't want somebody ripping them off. They want to put in checks and balances. They don't want to be vulnerable because what happens when my gal goes on 2 weeks of vacation? Like, what are we going to do? So the story I just told you is like every doctor's nightmare. And they understand this. They want to find a system of checks and balances so that the work gets done and it gets
Yes.
done right. Now, if I was paying my front office staff $15 an hour,
Hmm.
is she going to tell me what the rejection rate is for my claims?
Yeah.
No, because that's going to make her look awful. I want to work with somebody who's going to make more money when I make more money so that all of our incentives are aligned. And so I originally outsourced to avoid like the nightmares that I had already personally lived.
Yes.
But once I started thinking about it, like there were a whole bunch of other reasons to outsource my billing.
Yes. Yeah. Let me see if I can get any of the participants on here. Folks, if y'all are on here and y'all got any particular questions that you'd like to ask Dr. Rackner, feel free to type that in there and you go ahead. Until then, I'm going to put up a slide here, and so that we can kind of just gives us a little talking point here. So this is a question that usually is always asked. Doesn't the doctor already have a billing staff? Now, you kind of went through this whole thing. You've already kind of answered that before. Yes, but it doesn't mean that they're always getting out the claims properly.
Right, exactly. So I've had a relationship with ABS, I think about a decade now, maybe a
Yeah.
little more. And I remember first learning that on average, 30% of insurance claims were rejected. And I remember when I was in business, I went to my CPA and he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. You need a tax write-off. So we'll just use that as a tax write-off." What business person would actually think like that? So yes, every doctor has a way of getting paid. And they are like leaking money like crazy.
Yes.
So their existing system usually poorly serves doctors. There's systems errors built in. If you really want to think about how to scale a profitable business, outsourcing billing is like the single most important thing that you can do.
No doubt. Now, in your because you're dealing with doctors, what, every day, every other day, you're engaging with them because you're all your focus. How Patrick and you kind of came across is that he found you because you were helping doctors think differently about money.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing. And y'all had a connection there, and we're trying to do the same thing. We're just trying to do it from a medical, the revenue cycle management side of it, and that they're leaving literally hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on the table. You're teaching the doctors everything from their investments to what they're buying and all these, but included in all of that is obviously their revenue. And when you wrote your book, The Myth of the Rich Doctor, I mean, that's why I put this up here because you mentioned about 30% of their incomes just go away. But outsourcing can bring it down to their claims being rejection rates being as low to 2 to 5%, and that alone will help them increase their cash flow. One of the fastest and the easiest ways is just getting the billing out of their office and letting the expert billing company do what they do best.
Absolutely. Now, here is something that's probably going to shock most of the people who are here on this line. And that's that you probably do a better job of managing money and embracing a healthy money mindset than most physicians do. I mean,
Wow.
yes, ABS business owners help doctors with cash flow. But I think what they also do is infuse this healthier money mindset. Why did I write the myth of the rich doctor? Well, like back in 2008, I kept on hearing doctors' stories about their financial struggles. And I started to realize I'm not the only one who has struggled with money. And it's more the rule than the exception that doctors make some pretty stupid stupid choices. So yes, we earn high incomes. If you look at the US Department of Labor statistics, like 10 of the 10 top earners in the US call themselves doctors. But we do not translate this high income into wealth, into the freedom
Right.
to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And this leaking out of revenue, they do it by not collecting what they're owed. They do it by
Right.
not actively managing their taxes. If you can fix that, you can
Yes.
transform a doctor's life.
Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. Shankar is asking what kind of degrees slash certifications are needed to start this business?
Okay, do you want
Go
me to
ahead.
answer that?
Yeah, you answer it, and then I'll come back and answer it for you on some more from the ABS side.
Okay, what I can tell you, I just told you how I found my outsource filler, right?
Yes.
The best thing that you can do is help doctors get real results. Your end game is for doctors to talk about you in the surgeon's lounge, in the doctor's dining room, share information about you and how you help them, just like I learned. That's
Yeah.
how you grow your business.
Yeah.
Doctors
Just
don't
get,
really care about all of the ABCs. They want to know, can you do this job for me?
That's correct. So Shankar, what you'll do, what you'll get from us here is, I mean, you may not know anything about healthcare. So we're gonna take you from not knowing anything to getting you to understand what an EOB is and an ERA and what CMS stands for. We're gonna help you get all of that lingo down. And then you've got a support team here at ABS that's going to help you manage all of your the questions that doctors do come up with. There's a questionnaire that we're going to help you with to help address, their biggest issues, and so we've got all of that. So the only certification that you need to get started is the certification that I mentioned earlier that you get from MIRMA. It's the Certified Medical Revenue Management uh, certification. So that's all you're really going to need. Now, besides that, I don't know if you know this, Dr. Rackner, but our support team that's led by Tim Warren, he and his wife put together almost a graduate level training on some even more in depth on collections and how to go get that hard money and all that. So Shankar, really everything that you're needing to be certified, to get educated, you have it all here. A lot of people think, well, I might need to go to school, but you're going to find out if you go to a trade school or some type of you go down an associate's or a technical type of way, that those degrees and those certifications can be almost as expensive, or sometimes even more expensive than what you have here to kind of get started here. And plus, we can help you get started much sooner because we're coming alongside you. We're not just training you and kicking you out the door. We're coming alongside you for your entire journey. We've got folks here that have been with us for 10, 15, 20 years that still utilize our services for support. So we're here to help you there. All right, so here's another one from Pierre. Aside from compliance and audit protection, what are the top three things providers value most in a medical billing partner?
I'm going to let you handle that one, Eric.
Okay. So aside from compliance, I think what they're looking for, is I think it kind of gets back to what you've mentioned, somebody that they can actually trust, the it's I have you deal a lot with financial advisors, right? Some of us here on the call, we may have been dealing with a financial advisor, and we know if we've ever dealt with a financial advisor that's maybe trying to help us with our retirement or just our day-to-day budgets and everything. I know that when we went to go see and deal with ours, the first thing that they did was just get to know who we were. They didn't go in and start diving into my numbers. They really wanted to build a relationship with me. And I think as good as all our social media is, one of the things that it has deterred us from is building relationship with people. And I think that's an art that's missing nowadays. We think that we can gain new clients just by social media. We can gain new clients by just sending out a letter or something else like that. But nothing beats being able to sit and have coffee with somebody and build trust with somebody.
I would agree. So, Eric, you and I were talking about AI, and here's the truth. We are living in an epidemic of loneliness. People feel
Yes,
so disconnected. And, there are some people who are turning to AI to meet their personal needs.
yes,
But I think today, authenticity, having a real person that you can get on the phone or even touch in person, who is there for you, who truly understands you, who listens to you, who cares about you, that
yes.
has more value than it ever has.
Even if they want to call and gripe at you, you know, that's actually a pretty good thing because it gives them a release. They wouldn't be able to do that with an AI client.
Right, right, exactly.
But it is. It's and this is I don't want to turn my money over to some computer that can make a glitch and all of a sudden it goes away. I want to be able to pick up the phone and call my financial advisor and say, hey, you're better at forecasting what's going on with the economy than I can. Where do we go next? What do we do next? That's what a doctor's going to want to, hey, you got me here. What can we do next? And I think that was one of the things you were alluding to earlier with you and me before we got on the webinar is that doctors will eventually start to see their medical billing company that they're associated with as a trusted advisor themselves, and what are some new things that they could do to make more money? Because that sounds like what your gal did for you.
Yes, she brought in this skill set. Like, okay, here's my training. I went to 4 years of undergraduate, a little graduate. I didn't need to do that. 4 years of medical school, 5 years of residency. And the focus was how do you take care of patients?
Yes.
But what I never learned about was how do you run a business? How do you become profitable? And so I didn't even realize that at the time, but she was the person who was tending to the business of my practice so that I could focus on delivering medical care. I didn't even know how much I needed that, but it
Wow.
made a huge difference.
Well, I think what you just said there really brings the personalized part of the importance of an outsourced medical billing company. You won't have that relationship with an employee biller.
No, you can't like I mean, if you look at the incomes, let's say you're a cardiologist, right?
Uh-huh.
You're probably taking home 700,000 a year,
Right.
which means that you're billing and collecting what, Eric, maybe 1 million?
Yeah. Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want the gal you're paying $15 an hour to really dig into these numbers and see this? No, it just doesn't make sense.
Correct. Yeah. That's correct. So, Pierre, hopefully that helped answer your question there. And folks, if I think I've shared this on the other webinars, if you see the little thumbs up or the little hearts or anything there, and we're answering your question, give us the little thumbs up and everything. That just lets us know that we're answering your question properly. If if you feel like we need to go a little bit further with the questioning, just put the little question mark up there. We'll see what we can do there. Shankar is why? How would a doctor trust a new business owner with or without experience to outsource their billing? So that's a great question, and I'll tackle that one a little bit because that's kind of ABS related. ABS is here, Shankar, to provide you obviously number one with the training, but then with the expertise, we're going to try to help you get there and get you there quickly. Now, one of the ways I'm going to do that, and I'm going to bring in Dr. Rackner on this, is because a brilliant thing that Dr. Rackner and our former owner of the founder of the company, they co-authored a book together, and the book is called The New Thriving Medical Practice. So share a little bit about how this book came into play, and I'm going to share with them how answering Shankar's question to build trust with a new medical billing company.
All right. So, the most influential person in a doctor's life is another doctor. That's how I found my biller. And I've got a relationship with ABS. So, what Patrick and I explored is what if licensees could sort of be under my umbrella of credibility? So, when you go in and see a new doctor, you're not just going in alone. Imagine going in with a surgeon beside you saying, you should listen. And I even wrote a letter that you can send to prospects. So that is one answer. Having a physician evangelist is really important. And that is part of the value that ABS delivers. The other thing to keep in mind is that it's not just you. You have all sorts. You're part of a huge national network, a proven network. So it is not just you. So that's the second part of my answer to that question. But there's another part. And Eric, I hope it's okay for me to say this. All right. The best way to get new doctor clients, this is what I tell my financial advisors. There's 3 buckets of leads. There's family, friends, and fans, people who know, like, and trust you. Yep. There are the power partners. These are people who have lists of doctors, and if they sent the doctor an email, the doctor would open the email. And then there are doctor information seekers. There's doctors out there looking for answers to their questions. Hands down, the best way to get a new prospect is go to somebody who already knows, likes, and trusts you and say, hey, you might not know this about me, but I'm dedicated to serving the doctors who serve the community. Mm-hmm. You might be aware of this if you've got doctors who are close to you, that this is actually a very difficult time for doctors in private practice. They're worried about being bought out by private equity. Like, there's stress from all ends. I am here to help doctors thrive. So listen, if you know any doctors in private practice, have them contact me, because I want to send them this book about the new thriving medical practice. Then, if somebody already knows, likes, and trusts you, and they have a sister who's an OB/GYN, you're going to add a link in the chain of trust.
Yeah.
That is the single best way to do it.
Well, and thank you for sharing that. I know, and those are the things that we teach. You hit probably the 3 columns of getting a client. You're going to work with people like and trust. You're going to either work with power partners, or you're going to start to work with these doctors that can be referred to by somebody like yourself. And that's what the whole thing about this book here. And the great thing about it is that on the book, whenever you become part of ABS, you'll see down there, it might be a little hard to see there, but you can see the forward is by a gal by the name of Susan Smith, CMRM. Well, that CMRM stands for Certified Medical Revenue Manager. Well, this kind of goes back to Shankar's earlier question: how do we get certified and all this? Well, you're a certified medical revenue manager. Now, not only you're a certified medical revenue manager, your name goes as you've written the forward. Now, we've got a forward that is in draft form, so you can take that and use the content of that and rewrite it yourself if you want it, or just take it as it is. And then all of your contact goes at the end of the forward, where it has your first name, last name, your company name, your phone number, email address, and again, your website. So what all this is doing, you got Dr. Vicki on the front part of the cover as one of the co-authors of the book. The information is a lot of her information in there. You've just written the foreword to the book, so it provides instant credibility to you. to be able to hand out a book. A lot of people, all they can hand out is a flyer, or maybe send out an ebook of some sort. But this is a real book, about 275 pages in depth to it, and we're going to actually show you how to utilize that. And I believe I've got that letter. Let me see if I can find it here real quickly. I'm going to zip through a few of these. Yep, here it is. So as Dr. Rackner said, if you once you found a prospect, you would work back with support here. And let's say you found two or three doctors and you go, you know what, I want to target these 3 to 4 doctors. Well, there's a letter that she has already written that can go out on your behalf, written from her, signed by her, that will include the book and the letter. So there's nothing better to help you get engaged with a doctor early on than a doctor, Dr. Vicki, suggesting to another doctor that they at least ought to have a conversation with you. So, folks, this is how we help you go from a brand new business owner in medical billing to someone who has credibility because you're part of a book that you've written the forward to, and you've got Dr. Vicki who is suggesting at least you might want to have a conversation with this person who sent you this book. So Shankar, hopefully that helped answer your question. You want to add any more to that, Dr. Vicki?
Yeah, what I can tell you is that I'm always trying to think about how to make it easier for people like financial advisors or ABS business owners to engage doctors. I've been doing this for 15 years. Nothing works better than giving away this book. I've had financial advisors transform their businesses. They are reaching out to warm prospects with the book. They are building book funnels and funneling in paid ads to drive doctors to the funnels, and they do it because it works.
There you go. And you said something earlier that doctors love information. And one of the things that we learned, I mentioned to you earlier before we got started, and I can't remember the business owner, ABS business owner's name, it slips my mind, but she has built an incredible business. But what she did a little differently, she took all the information that we have here at ABS, and instead of going out and doing a one-time like kind of lunch and learn, she created these 15-minute podcasts and just kept that going out there and going out there. All of a sudden, she's got doctors calling her wanting to know, can you help me do my billing? You can't have anything better than a doctor calling you and go, hey, can you help me here?
Absolutely.
And it's just driving information. Folks, y'all could take that book, The New Thriving Medical Practice, and I can't remember if it's 12, 15 chapters long. Each one of those could be a little podcast segment. And you could create your own podcasting now and be out there and be in the podcast world, and all of a sudden you've become the expert on everything. That helps you get to that part where people know, like, and trust you. That's just what it gets down to. All right, let's see what other kind of questions do we have coming in. A few from Pierre, so let me see if I can figure out which ones. What makes a billing company credible in the eyes of a sole provider? I think we just answered that one. So that's one thing that we can kind of skip over. Do small practice prefer month-to-month agreements or one-year contracts? Okay, well, let's talk about that. Dr. Rackner, whenever you had your billing person do this, did they do it on just a month-to-month agreement, or was it a full year contract?
I can't remember, to be the honest truth, but I can tell you my mindset. My mindset was, this is my person. My intention was to build a long-term relationship with her.
Yeah, we recommend that, Pierre, that you do at least an annual contract, but inside of that contract, there is a 30-day kind of breakup agreement, if you want to call it that way. I'll tell you this, and I know a lot of people think, well, can I just test trial my services to a doctor? You can't just test trial billing services. You can't go, hey, I know, doctor, you're using this one, but if you'll let me take a couple of your claims over here, let me see if I can get those done quicker. Because there's a lot of insurance that have to be moved from one clearinghouse to another clearinghouse to get claims processed through. So that won't work. It's kind of all or none to the degree whenever it comes to this business. So just making sure that because when you first get started here, you're not going to make a big bump in that doctor's income just the first 30 to 90 days. It takes a good 90 days to 6 months to really start making an impact there.
Actually, Eric, I remember years ago, I listened to an interview that Patrick did with one of the business owners. And I believe what she had done was she went into doctors' offices and said, "Hey, do you have any really tough claims that you just
Yes.
can't go through? How about if I take on a dozen of those and, you know, we'll see what I can do with them."
Yeah. Yeah. There are some claims that they get lost in the translation, and sometimes they'll just write those off. But you could go in there and say, hey, give me some of your most difficult ones. Let me see if I can get those. That can certainly be done. All right. So Ash is asking a question. Shankar is asking a question. Again, all about AI. Shankar basically says AI is a real disruptor in these days. We all agree. I feel like it's a disruptor in the right direction. Um, he states AI could handle much of the billing, claims processing. I'll tell you at this point, I haven't found a platform out there that's doing billing and claims processing all AI. Haven't found it. Uh, how is this business insulated from AI impact? You and I talked about that. I think the way it's going to be insulated is because, again, it gets back down to the relationship with the doctor. Because the doctors are afraid that AI is supposed, at least that's what I've seen on the news sometimes. People are going, well, AI take away my job as even as of a doctor.
Yeah, I don't think AI is ever going to take away the jobs of either somebody who does revenue management or of doctors. Now, there have been tests. Who reads an x-ray better, a radiologist or AI? Who can interpret an EKG better, AI or a cardiologist? And the risk of just handing things over to AI is that they have these hallucinations, like they don't
Yes.
always get it right. So the spirit that I am using in my own business that I'm encouraging doctors to embrace is, look, you have a very powerful new team member,
Yeah.
but I don't think anyone is ready or willing to hand their important jobs over to AI.
Yeah. I don't think any of us are. And whether it's with a doctor, I mean, I don't want to go to a robot to get my medical stuff taken care of. I want to go to a doctor that's going to listen to me, that has empathy. And I think that's the same thing that I think social media has removed a little bit of empathy from us. It's amazing how through social media we can hate certain groups of people, but if we met them on the street, we would probably buy them a hamburger, you know? Um, and I think we need to make sure that we get back to who we are as humans. And I think the relationships that a medical billing company and a doctor will have, and I'm going to connect this back to something you said earlier, how that builds community within your community. Because if I can help a doctor financially succeed, then that doctor, whether it's a he or she, will serve my community better. In return, I'm actually going to have a better, healthy community because my doctor is not so worried about not getting paid anymore. Big
Exactly.
impact. Big
Exactly.
impact there. Let's see. Do we have some lessons learned and challenges by newbies that can face it? Okay, so let me see if I can. I'll read this and we'll bounce this one off. Do we know what are, and this is from Fanny, um, do we know what are some of the lessons learned or challenges that the newbies like me would face in establishing my own practice? What are some of the lessons learned or challenges of a newbie like me would face in establishing my own practice?
I'd be happy to do that.
Sure.
So, financial advisors pay thousands of dollars to go through my Cracking the Physician Code course. And why are they willing to make that investment? It's because they know that they can avoid costly mistakes. So, what you get with ABS is you get the proven path. This is evidence-based marketing. The things that you learn work. And personally, as an entrepreneur, I am always looking for that competitive edge. Um, I want to learn from mentors, people who have been successful, rather than investing time learning the lessons the hard way.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't have said it any better, and I'm not. I think you answered it very, very well. Thank you. Ash is how does one break into the market dominated by some large billers? Ash, I would tell you this. I wouldn't even worry about the larger billers that are out there because not always are you going to find the family physician, the primary cares always going with large billing companies. Um, so I the only ones that are out there that are large medical billing companies, they probably have 100 plus more doctors that they're doing for, and it's probably with a larger group, a known group. But the majority of your primary cares, your kind of small town specialty groups, podiatrists, social workers, those folks there, they're not dealing with they're not they don't want to go with somebody that's a big larger company. They really want to deal with somebody that's local.
Yeah, and it's a different experience and it's more personal.
Yeah.
So, I could go shopping at Macy's or Target, but I love going into the small boutiques.
Yes.
People who
That's a great way to
understand
put it.
me, people
Yeah.
who curate things that I like.
Yeah.
And I think with, revenue management, it's the same thing. I'm not sure that I want to work with people who are just cogs in the wheel.
There you go. You got a thumbs up on that one from them. So that was a good. I think you answered it correctly. All right, Dr. Rackner. We're can you believe we're almost 7 minutes away from the top of the hour already?
Oh my goodness. It's hard to believe. Hard to believe.
Why don't you kind of just give us your closing thoughts here, and I'll wrap it up here for the afternoon.
All right. So during the pandemic, remember when people used to go out and bang their pots at 5 p.m. to thank doctors? Doctors have it tough. I was just at a meeting for physician real estate investors, and so we all started meeting each other. And I spoke with this guy who did infectious diseases. He finished his fellowship in 2019.
Okay.
So frontline during the pandemic. And I asked him, what was that like? And he told me some pretty amazing stories, including the potential risk to his own life. Doctors we're very fortunate. We get to do the things that we love to do. But it often feels like the world is against us.
Sure.
We want somebody in our corner
Yeah.
who's going to support us, who's going to help us, who's going to pound those proverbial pots
Yes.
at 5 p.m. And somebody who does revenue management, somebody who's part of the team, who's truly there to support doctors. That is somebody who has tremendous value.
That's really a great way to kind of put a wrap on this. And again, I appreciate you taking the time again, and I look forward to doing this again with you at sometime else in the year. I know that you're a busy lady, and I do. Everybody here loves you, and we all appreciate everything that you do and jumping on these webinars with us, and then help. And then in the meantime, those that you're helping, some of our brand new business owners helping them to get their first client. So thank you for doing that. People are giving thumbs up and applause. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Thanks everyone on the webinar for your interest. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I've invested in lots of businesses, and I've invested in some bad ones. Like my family caregiving business when caregivers don't have money to invest. So like I have certain checks that have to be checked off before I go to the next stage with an entrepreneurial venture. I can tell you that I think ABS checks all of the boxes.
I agree. I agree. Dr. Rackner, thank you so much. I
All
appreciate your
right.
time. We'll see you next
My
time.
pleasure.
All
Okay,
right.
take
Thank
good
you.
care. Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye bye.